Hey everyone, earlier today we had the part 2 live letter for patch 6.2, so in this video I will be recapping the important information that was given during the broadcast. There was some information repeated from the part 1 live letter, so I'll be skipping through most of that. Let's start off with job adjustments. No major overhauls this time around, but some minor tweaks here and there, and I guess the biggest job change isn't really a job specific one, but a more general change for crit and direct hit. As there are more jobs that have actions that guarantee a crit or a direct hit now, it means that those jobs don't really benefit as much or at all from crit and direct hit boosting raid buffs. So to address this, they will grant those actions a damage boost while these raid buffs are active. So for example, if you're playing warrior and your scholar uses chain stratagem when your in release is active, then instead of the crit rate going to waste because all of your fell cleaves will crit anyways, your fell cleaves will now do bonus damage while chain is on the boss. And it only goes for the fell cleaves that were under the effect of in release, of course. A normal fell cleave isn't a guaranteed crit, so it won't benefit from this damage buff, as you still benefit from the crit rate buff that chain gives. For guaranteed direct hit actions, you will now gain a damage boost depending on your direct hit stat. The reason why it's different for these two stats is because the crit stat increases both the crit rate and crit damage, whereas direct hit only affects the direct hit rate and not the damage. So with this change, direct hit still doesn't increase your direct hit damage unless you're using an action that has a guaranteed direct hit. Then it does increase the damage. Moving on to Savage. As we already know, Savage is going to be delayed by 1 week after the patch, but outside of that nothing is changing. So no increasing difficulty, no delay for the tombstones, just Savage coming out 1 week after normal mode. As for the books that you get from clearing Savage, they made an adjustment in how many you need to buy head, gloves and boots. They decreased the amount needed from 6 to 4. No other changes were made to the exchange rates, and it also does not affect previously released rates. Moving on to Island Sanctuary. When you unlock your island, you will get an introduction quest that serves as some kind of a tutorial to help you get your bearings on your island, and all of the island specific tasks don't require any outside progress either. So if you want to gather or craft stuff, you don't need to go and unlock or level crafters and gatherers to do so. All of the items that you gather on your island also go to a separate inventory, so it won't clutter your normal inventory. So you'll be crafting, gathering, catching monsters and building things, and all of that will contribute to the rank of your island. And as you're doing all of these things, you will also get a special island currency that can be traded in the shop for mounts, minions, hairstyles and other glamour items. The content itself isn't complete either. They plan to add more features every 2 major patches, and you need to have cleared the 6.0 story to access your island. Last but not least, we have Varian Dungeons. For normal mode, to compensate for the role imbalance, as you don't need a standard light party composition for this, there will be special variant actions that you can bring with you to make up for a missing role, so that a DPS can assume a tank role, for example. You can compare these actions to the Eureka or Boja actions. You also don't use the normal duty finder to queue into these dungeons, but they have their own special duty finder menu, and this is also where you can equip those variant actions. Once inside, you have multiple routes that you can take, and the way how it's decided while doing this as a party is by which tile the majority of players stand on. That route will be chosen. If you want to pick your own route, then you can always just solo the dungeon, as it's possible to run the content solo. While each route does not have a unique looking boss, some will have different mechanics, so if you want to experience it all, then you will need to do multiple runs of the dungeon. One route will have 2 bosses, as opposed to the 3 of a normal dungeon, and there is a mount reward for clearing this. For Criterion Dungeons, while looking very similar, are very different from the Varian Dungeons. You need a standard light party composition of 1 tank, 1 healer and 2 DPS. The route is predetermined and there is no NPC accompanying you. You also can't be rest by normal rest actions, but each party member will have access to variant raise with limited usages. All of the other variant actions are not enabled. For the Savage version of the Criterion Dungeon, you simply can't rest, not even with variant raise, as all of your variant actions will be disabled in this one. The dungeon itself looks a little bit like a deep dungeon floor, with the difference being that you need to beat all of the mobs to spawn the boss, so be careful as you pull all the mobs, as aggroing too many of them could easily lead to a wipe, just like it would be in a deep dungeon once you go up to the higher floors. Once you've beaten all of the mobs, then you can go and take on the boss, which is not going to be a full-length boss fight like an 8-man encounter. It's going to be a bit shorter than that, but the pacing will also be faster. how fast, we'll just have to wait and see. And that is all of the important extra information that we got on patch 6.2. There is of course more information about the patch available, but that was all talked about during the part 1 live letter, so I won't be going over that again. And with that, I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.